안녕하세요. 저는 경영학과 재무 전공 석사 과정 1학기 시바스 사마이폰입니다. 오늘 발표 주제는 수출 증가가 한국의 GDP 성과에 미치는 영향입니다. 그럼 지금부터 발표를 시작하겠습니다. 연구 동기는 한국의 경제적 성공을 주로 수준 중심이다. 수준 증가가 GDP에 어떤 영향을 미치는지 이해하는 것을 정책 개발에 매우 중요합니다. 목표는 주요 거시 경제적 요인, 연료 가격, 환율, 이자율의 영향을 받아 수출 증가율과 GDP 간의 관계를 분석합니다. GDP is a measure of the total value contributed across all industry and is good indicator of a country's economic health. It is greatly impacted by the increase of export. Impact of rising food price. Rising food prices raise production costs, energy, transportation, and machinery, and lower export competitiveness. Exchange rates functions. Exchange rates have an impact on the cost of manufacturing inputs. Higher exchange rates increase export competitiveness. Relevance of interest rate. Why higher interest rate impede economic growth? Lower rates encourage investments in export-oriented sector. Policy and crisis perspective. The way macroeconomic variables interact during crises like COVID-19 emphasize the necessity of flexible trade policy to preserve stability. Hypothesis: the GDP performance of South Korea benefits much from export growth, which shows that greater GDP growth rates are correlated with increasing export volume. Data: the study will examine the effect of key variables such as food price, exchange rate, and interest rate on export, as well as their overall impact on South Korea GDP. Data will be collected from secondary data sources such as the Bank of Korea and International Monetary Fund, covering the periods from 2010 to 2023. Bi-quarterly. Methodology: this study examines the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable as the multiple linear regressions and simple linear regression model below. To run the regressions we have done in the data. This is the research framework, and this is the statistic descriptive. For table 2 is the result is the multiple regressions of x1, x2, x3, and 2y. For this one, the analysis that follow demonstrate a positive correlations between Korea's GDP and the food price, exchange rate, and interest rate. Since the F statistic is significant, p-value equals 0.0000. Korea's GDP is impacted by the independent variable at the same time, with all other variables held constant. The model accounts for 100% of the variations in Korea's GDP, or R squared equal to 1.0000. The next one, table 3, the simple regressions of Y to C. The regression study looked at the connections between GDP and the Korea export. The findings show a substantial and negative connections with the coefficients of minus 6.368457. This implies that If all other variables remain same, a 1% rise in Korea export is linked to a 6.37% decline in GDP, with an R-square of 0.8234. The model indicates the export account for 82.34%. The overall statistical significance of the model is confirmed by f-statistic p-value equals 0.0000, and the root MSE of 0.35812, which show that although the model fit the data well, the negative associations necessitate more research. These findings suggest that export might not have the anticipated beneficial effect on Korea GDP, that connections might be influenced by intricate underlying pushes that call for more investigation. Next, for the conclusions, this study examined the connections between South Korea GDP performance and export growth, with a particular emphasis on the effect important macroeconomic factors like interest rate, food prices, and exchange rates. The results show that these variables have a major impact on export, which in turn have an impact on GDP growth. This analysis finds a compact, perhaps surprising link, underscoring the necessity for cautious thinking export-driven growth policy, even with the excellent studies model and solid result for policymakers to create a policy that boosts their export competitiveness and promotes sustainable economic growth. These findings are essential. The limitations: the use of the secondary data, which limits the scope of analysis. To improve the finding generalizability and robustness, future studies should try to include larger datasets with variable and longer time periods. 지금까지 발표를 마치겠습니다. 감사합니다.